everybody. My name is Shradha Ghosh, and I'm the founder of Pixalearn. Today, we're joined by Nimisha. I think I've known her for less, 10 years now, Nimisha? I
Yeah,
have asked 10
yeah,
years. You were a part of, I
almost.
think, one of my physical batches. And I remember even when you were doing CPA, you shifted to US, you got married,
Correct.
had a kid, and then you managed to do your CPA. And
Yes.
now she has started a practice of her own for the last couple of years. She's a mother of three, and the rest I would want to hear from you, Nimisha. Okay, let's get started.
Yes.
Tell us something about yourself. Okay, so just before you start, I want to tell you a preface of what we are doing and why we are doing this. The idea behind these episodes are to answer a lot of questions that prospective CPA candidates have in India about what could be the next course of action, what after CPA, all of those promises that they're thinking right now, how difficult it is to achieve it, or what would be the next steps. So, we are looking at you to answer us some questions that are generally questioned by the people who are either looking for joining CPA or who are already in the process of pursuing it, or they have completed CPA and they're now trying to figure out what can they do with that degree. Okay. So, with that in
Correct.
the preface, let's just first know from you a little background about you and how did CPA come into your life and what is your journey so far?
Yes. So, hi everyone. My name is Nimisha Chaturvedi. I'm a Texas-based licensed CPA. I'm a founder of NC CPA. That's my CPA firm that caters to individuals and small businesses. So, I'm into providing them tax, bookkeeping, payroll, and audit services, and I love helping them out. That's the passion that drives me. That they know their numbers, they stay compliant. That just drives me. So now starting why I did CPA because I was a chartered accountant back in India, and when I moved
Mhm.
to US, I thought your CPA credential has more value. When you reach out to your clients, they
Mhm.
have that integrity that comes with when there is CPA behind your name. So
Mhm.
and I always wanted to build my own practice. So that was my first step. That definitely paid off. And so here I am. I'm a chartered accountant in India. I also have an MBA from University of Alaska. And yes, so building my own practice right now.
So, Nimisha, whatever you thought, the initial thoughts that you had when you were choosing to pursue CPA, on the scale of 0 to 10, how much do you think it has lived up to your expectation? Like the reason, the thought behind doing this, and now the journey through this, and where it has taken you so far.
I would give it a 10, 10 on 10.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's taken me what I wanted out of it. That's definitely what I got. So like I said, it just gave me the confidence. It gave me the technical skill. It gave me
Mhm.
the way to deal with the clients, the way to take things on. So
Mhm.
definitely a 10 on 10.
See, one question I get asked a lot from my prospective can even my current students is that, so a lot of people from India who've done CA
Mhm.
are also opting for CPA as a degree with the hope that probably it may help them in the corporate world and it may also help them start their own practice. So this is a
Correct.
question that I often get
Mhm.
asked is in terms of the work that you're doing, how prepared were you because of the technical skills that CPA gave you? I mean, what was the gap
Mhm.
between what you learned in CPA and now when you're applying it? Do you think the technical knowledge or the stepping stone that you had was it sufficient for you to start this journey, or where would you see that in retrospect now?
So I see it like it was a good base. It gave me the
Mhm.
base to start. I wouldn't say that it just because starting your own practice or stepping into the corporate world is it's a separate ball game.
Mhm.
So you have to have that hands-on experiences before you get out, like before you are out there. It gives you that technical framework, I would say, but you have to also have those hands-on experiences to build yourself.
So, were you working in India, Nimisha? Because that's the part that I'm really not. So, and after that, there was some requirement of a minimum work ex before you took your license, right? So, I think
Yes,
your
ma'am.
work ex in India was sufficient enough for you to get that license, is it?
No. So I was
Okay.
working with PwC India. That was my last company. But when I
Mhm.
moved here, they require a work ex from US.
Okay.
So yeah,
Okay.
yes. So that's what, and ma'am, it's very different from state to state. So
Okay.
you have to be very much aware of which state you are in and
Mhm.
where you are aiming for the license. So Texas had a different requirement. Alaska had a different requirement. So that's where, yeah. So that's where I had to had work ex from US, like 2 years of work ex, and
Mhm.
that is what they consider.
So, that means you were in Alaska when you cleared CPA. And
Yes.
did you take your license in Alaska?
So my case, I had my license from the state of Montana because with my Indian education,
Okay, okay,
I wasn't, yes. So Alaska wasn't one of the states which allowed that Indian
okay,
education
okay.
credits. Yes. And then from the state of Montana, once I had my license, I moved it to Texas. That was much easier. Yeah, rather than having applied for license in Texas, I moved my current license from Montana to Texas.
And when you were doing that, then you had to add some extra work ex before they could give you the license.
For Texas, I had to. Yes.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, that is actually now again, this might look like a strange question, but there are many of the Indians who are now doing CPA with the idea that probably, from here they'll be able to work for the US. Now,
Mm-hmm.
how practical do you think that is? Like, when you look at the ground level now, you're in the
Mm.
US, you're running a practice. First of all, what is the acceptability of clients in the US thinking of outsourcing? So, what is their image about somebody in India doing their taxation and doing your accounting? Are they very comfortable with it? And secondly, is it practical to think that you're sitting from India, you would be servicing or catering to US clients?
So, ma'am, it is because at the end of the day, they value the accuracy, they value the timely delivery, right? And they value the integrity. Like if you have a good system, if you have a good, you need to have a good cloud-based secured system.
Okay.
And also you have to have a good professional communication. You have
Mhm.
to timely deliver the results. If you do
Okay.
that, I think they don't care.
So actually, geographical boundaries are actually not relevant, you say, right?
Not relevant. And because I've seen like when I am outsourcing work to India, the only concern I have is they don't have the required knowledge of the local laws and regulations
Okay.
or the taxes here because the taxes are completely different from what you have in India.
Okay.
Yeah, so you've got to have that knowledge. You
Mhm.
got to have that expertise because that's the reason why I would outsource it to you. When you have that expertise, you have that local level knowledge. So
Mhm.
if you have that, then definitely outsourcing is here to stay.
So when you're saying local level knowledge, are you trying to talk about the state laws, or is it because, see, if we talk about tax, I'm just giving an
Mm,
example. So let's say if we talk about tax, and we are having some part of federal laws
mm,
in our syllabus for CPA, right?
mm,
So you're
mm.
saying that's not enough. You need to have the local state laws of the whatever domicile that we're talking about. Without that, it will be very difficult to cater to any client in the US. Is that what you're referring to?
Yes, ma'am, because federal is fine. That is one part of the thing, but you also have to
Okay.
deal with states.
Okay.
And every state here has a very different state law.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So we do not have GST yet. So so there's every state
Oh,
has
there is
different
no GST
laws.
in the US at all, is it?
No,
No
ma'am. So every
indirect tax.
state, nothing.
Okay.
Yes. So state
Okay.
taxes, sales tax, payroll tax, then you have
Hmm.
the regular income tax. So every
Hmm.
state has different laws.
And just for information, let's say it's somebody from India who's now a qualified CPA and he or she wants to, embark on that journey. How would he or she would be able to bridge this gap? Let's say if somebody wants to learn about the state laws,
Mm,
how would you
mm,
propose that? Because see, a lot of students in India, for the simplicity of getting the eligibility, because that's the first
mm,
hurdle to being a CPA, right? So most of them, they either get eligible from Montana or Guam
mm.
or state boards which accept the Indian
Correct.
applicants, right?
Yes.
So let's assume also that most of these people would have the license from these places,
Mm,
right? Now,
mm,
in that case, if somebody wants to set up a practice catering to US clients, we are going to get into marketing part separately because I think the
mm,
first
mm.
biggest hurdle is to first get a client. Okay. So we're going to talk
Correct.
about that. But
Yes.
in terms of
Mm,
first even pitching your services, how do you
mm.
think you can custom or you can learn about the state laws? Is there a podium or is there a place where you can learn all of that? Would you suggest something?
So state laws, you have to read like the SOS websites. You have to
Okay.
take CPEs. Like if you are wanting to practice in Texas, you have
Yeah.
to read the Texas SOS. You have to be
SOS
accustomed,
is state.
State Secretary of State. They have a
Okay.
website. They
Okay.
have
Okay.
all the literature there, what you want to
Okay.
learn.
Okay.
And
Okay.
and then like the regular CPRs, the regular CPs that you take.
Yeah.
So I would say like first concentrate on one state,
Mm-hmm.
build up on it, like learn more about it, and then move to the other states.
Okay.
Yeah, right.
And we have a lot of these students who are from Big Four now,
Hmm.
and then so we will see that there are full departments handling only the state laws in the Big
Yes,
Fours.
ma'am.
Yeah,
Yes.
so that is the significance of what we're talking about,
Hmm.
because without that,
Yes.
so it's not that only a particular kind of people are going to have state laws. Every individual, every
Yes.
business, every entity
Yes.
in the US would have the
Hmm.
state laws. So for us also, so all of this information is, I think, very important, because I think a lot of stuff that you would have learned on the job, if
Yes.
you share it with others in India. Now, I don't know how easy it's going to be for them, but
Hmm.
definitely it's going to give them a pathway and a
Correct.
more realistic thinking about what is and what isn't possible. Still
Yeah.
I get
Hmm.
calls from students saying, if I do this course, I'll move to US. Like, first of all, moving to US is a secondary thing. What is
Hmm.
important is that you first get this degree and then you make sense out of it,
Yes.
have some kind, because you can't just
Yes.
pack your bags and go to the US and then think of,
Correct. Yes,
yeah,
ma'am.
because that is
Hmm.
what many people in India have, that
Hmm.
perception that, the moment I get qualified as a CPA, I will immediately go and I'll start working in the US. There is a huge gap there, right?
Yes.
Now, two things, okay? So let's talk about the first scenario of a student who, let's say, has a standing in India, maybe a CA, maybe an MBA, and then this guy had, or this girl has decided to do CPA. Now,
Hmm.
if this person does move to the US, what is the acceptability of this degree in the corporate world? Because practice is a new ballgame altogether. But how do you
Yes.
see this person fitting into the corporate world in the US, moving from India for the first time? Do you think that's practical?
That is practical if you have done your CPA,
Yeah.
right? And you have the experience from India, that is also like I wouldn't say it won't count at all. Like in corporate
Okay.
world, it definitely would.
Okay.
So I that is definitely practical.
Mm-hmm.
And I would suggest like just start, I mean, start small. Don't just wait for the opportunity. Like start having some experiences. Like maybe talk to the people who are in that network and start having those experiences. Like maybe volunteer for something. Like you don't have to have like just volunteer. Like maybe join some firms and say then that I'll just volunteer for the tax season. I'll just
Okay.
volunteer when you're doing your payroll. I'll just volunteer when
Okay.
you are having an audit. So
Mm-hmm.
just start having those small experiences that definitely will add on when you are going big. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, just like in India, like, let's say if somebody has a very good idea about tax and bookkeeping and everything, but if you
Hmm.
don't have a CA, we do see
Hmm.
that there's a huge difference in the growth opportunity that you could have. At some point of time,
Yes.
growth gets stunted in the US. Do you see the same thing happening in the US also? That is the gap between a person who has knowledge but does not have the degree, vis-a-vis a person who has knowledge and the degree. Do you think the growth, when it comes in terms of growth, CPA
Hmm.
does have a role to play in it?
Yes, ma'am, it definitely, because it's more than about the knowledge, it's the integrity that you get with that label by your side. People start
Okay.
trusting you. People say
Okay.
that, okay, you are licensed, so definitely you've gone through CPEs,
Mhm.
you have the background, you have done
Mhm.
things to get that license.
Okay.
So definitely makes a difference.
Okay. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's very strong even in India. That if
Yeah.
you're not if you're not a CA, and now in fact the boundaries between being a CA or being a CPA is kind of blurring. 10 years back, 12 years back, the situation was not like that. But nowadays you'll see, at least at a base level, where if you can think of a starting person who's starting with CA, this is a person who's starting with CPA. Many places those boundaries have kind of got blurred, which was not the case
Yes.
10 years back. Okay.
Correct.
That's a good
Yes.
idea. I feel that's a really good thing. Okay, now think about a particular person, and maybe let's say that person has a practice in India and
Hmm.
now wants to take a US client sitting from India. What would be the steps that you would suggest this? So imagine I know nobody in the US, because see, most of the people whom I have seen establishing their practice from India are people who already have some kind of a contact in the US.
Yes.
They get their first clients from those contacts, and then
Yes.
once those clients are catered and if they are happy, then that helps them pull in some other clients. So
Yes.
the biggest challenge is to get your first client. And many of the people who have started their practice from India, they have this concept that you should ideally start with a B2B tie-up. Imagine I get in touch with somebody who's already practicing in the US, has a front end in the US, and I start by doing the back end job for those people. And then
Mm.
probably once I have enough work fine, probably I would want to go and do something else. Do you agree that's the easiest route? And even if that has to be done, how do you propose that that should be the starting point? Where should we start?
So that definitely makes it easier if you have a face in the US.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, so people, you get more, I mean, it's easier to get clients if you have that.
Mm-hmm.
Even if not, then I think advertising yourself and maybe like just showing how credible you are, what softwares are you using, and how secure these softwares are, showing your professionalism when you're communicating with them. That might
Mm-hmm.
also help, but definitely having a face makes it easier.
Okay. So
Yes.
if I'm just starting from India, in order to even start advertising, where should I start? I
Mm.
mean, when I look at
Uh-huh.
students who are asking me, so many students who've cleared probably with very nice marks, they
Yeah.
all, the biggest inertia is in the first step, how to start. So
Yes,
when you
ma'am.
say start
Yes.
advertising, start networking, in India it's easier
Yes.
because I know there are CA institutes, there are some
Mm.
gatherings that happens, there are network. So I'm
Mm.
pretty sure just like the startup community in the US is very vibrant, are there any communities that people can start joining, license initially, and then see if there are opportunities? What do you suggest would be the starting point for these people?
So I think LinkedIn, right? And
Okay.
then yes, LinkedIn, and then we have Facebook groups that they
Okay.
could join. Then there are these chambers of commerce that I'm not sure if anyone could join. I'm not sure on that. But then those
Hmm.
are the places where you can target, like where you have all these small businesses or mid-sized businesses looking for CPAs. So you can
Hmm.
join those places and advertise yourself.
Okay. So basically, the
Yeah.
first client is going to be a challenge. And then,
Yeah.
yeah, it's going to be a challenge. And then probably, so it is a dicey journey, Frankly speaking, it's not as simple as it sounds, not that rosy,
Hmm.
but it is doable. There are people who are doing it
Doable.
now
Yes.
uh,
Yes.
more than what was happening earlier. And I'm sure this
Yes.
route is going to grow bigger as time would go.
Correct. Correct.
This brings me to the next question. We see a lot of advertisement and a lot of public attention on the fact that there's a huge gap that's happening in the US between the
Hmm.
people who are applying for CPA and the growing demand because the CPAs who are there are going to age out and the new candidates are not
Yes,
opting for
ma'am.
this. Do you think that's real? How much are you facing it firsthand being there?
Yes, so it is definitely real. I don't
Mhm.
see too many too many young CPAs coming,
Okay.
and there is a lot of people who are retiring. So it
Okay.
yes, so it creates it gives a good opportunity to us who are already there. And
Okay.
yeah, but then it is concerning. Like people are not signing up for it, they're not coming. They think it's a very long path to go. But then I
Mhm.
think it's an asset, and I think I mean, you develop on it. So yeah,
Okay. Yeah, so that means that's real, right? That means it
that's
does make
real.
sense. It
Yes.
does make sense because with the COVID happening, data suggests that people have become more open to the fact that they can outsource their work in India and places like
Yes.
Philippines. In fact, the fact that their centers have opened in India and Philippines recently would also
Hmm.
vouch for the fact that yes, these countries are being taken seriously and we
Hmm.
are anticipating growing demand in
Hmm.
these localities now
Yeah, very
compared to what
much.
was earlier.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. What about AI? We are hearing so much about it.
Yeah.
Do you have any first-hand experience about it, or do you hear your client?
Yes.
And in terms of, so when you spoke about cloud computing, now I'm pretty
Hmm.
sure many of the CA who are in practice in India. In fact, even as a CA, there are a lot of people who don't practice. They go to the
Hmm.
corporate world.
Hmm.
But if
Yes.
now, what are the things that you feel are a must if you want to survive in this discipline and in this profile as far as the AI is concerned?
Yes. So, ma'am, it's definitely reshaping. It's reshaped the industry tremendously. Yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, some people say it's hindering and it's gonna take away your work and all those things. But I mean, as a practice owner, I feel it gives me an opportunity because it takes away all my routine tasks. Like I don't have to worry about some data analysis, or I don't have to worry about small calculations, or if I have to do some bookkeeping work. It's all been taken care of. So I can concentrate on bigger things like building client relationships, giving them advisory, and strategizing things for them. So I
Mm-hmm.
take it as an opportunity. And at
Mm-hmm.
the same time, I would suggest I mean, I'm hearing of many of those courses, like you have those how to give prompts to AI, have that course taken. So I would suggest taking that. And I would consider
Mhm.
myself also to be taking it. So
Mhm.
yeah, so that's the way we
Uh,
can, yeah, we can like use it in a proper way rather than take, yeah, like thinking of it as a hindrance.
Okay. No, but there are people who say that when blockchain would come and then the entire
Mm,
concept of bookkeeping would go away, and then when so what I'm trying to say is these were in talks for a very long time. And the
mm,
concept of auditing itself is based on the premise that you're going to check somebody else's work.
mm,
And the
mm,
moment blockchain comes into the picture, maybe this industry is going to shape in a very different way than what it is currently, right?
mm.
So you are seeing signs of this already.
Yes,
So we
yes, I
have to
am.
preempt. Yeah. So we have to preempt and we
Yes.
have to prepare ourselves with
Prepare.
a forward
Correct.
looking approach. Otherwise,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. We have to start taking those courses in AI that would help us so we know it how to use it in a better way. That will
Mhm.
like aid you in succeeding.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. One more thing, when I was
Mm,
talking to you and we were talking about all of these things, when we talk about tax, it's not just
mm.
filing the tax returns, right? So if I'm
Yes,
trying
ma'am.
to figure out the situation in India, and then if I compare it with what's happening in the US, right? And now I'm trying to take a leap of sitting in India, earning in dollars and catering to US clients, right? Now, if that be the case, like see, in India, if I'm saying that I'm helping you file your taxes, I will also have to answer queries that will come from the tax department. I will
Mm,
also have to
mm,
represent you to the client.
mm,
So,
mm,
and it has also been seen that people are very wary of giving their tax and bookkeeping to two
mm,
different CAs, right?
mm,
Because
mm,
we would
mm,
want everybody to, because I don't want to explain the same thing to 100 people. So,
mm.
I'm sure this similar kind of an environment would be there in the US also. Do you agree?
Yes.
So in that case, do you think it's practical to handle the representation also from India? Because if there's a query, obviously the person is going to come to me only, right? If I'm
Mm,
filing his or her
mm,
taxes. So how
mm.
comfortable or how practical do you think that part is? Handling people's taxes and at the same time representing the client. How do you think is that common? Do you see that happening or what is the stage for that?
So I personally haven't heard about it, like representing. Tax definitely I've heard like filing of taxes. But
Mm.
for representation, I haven't heard anyone from
Yeah,
there.
because it becomes very difficult, isn't it? I mean,
Yes, that is why,
yeah,
yeah.
and especially this will also need is in India for a very, very long time before the taxes were online. We used to
Yes.
go to a CA who would help us just clear
Yes.
all our tax dues, right? So
Correct.
I'm pretty
Correct.
sure there may be notices being so that is the part of tax, right?
Yes.
It's not just filed because that's a very
Yes.
low level work. There would be representation. You would have
Yes.
so with that gap, it's gonna be difficult to because the moment we stumble on that, we lose the client, isn't it?
Yeah, but then in that case, like have a US, that is where I say have a US counterpart that will help you.
Okay. So it's
Yes.
always better to have a face in the US.
Yes, ma'am.
Even to get a client, to sustain a client, to build up work, it's going to be slightly
Yes.
difficult imagining that you're doing everything from India.
Yes. Would
Is
be a
that
bit difficult. Yeah.
okay?
Yes.
Okay,
Mm.
in terms of the payments that you get in rem, is it a paying job in the US? Like many students have this question, there are people who come up and say you earn 60 lakhs in the US once you become a US CPA. So how
Yeah.
practical is it? Do you think it's a rewarding? So if you're starting your practice in the US,
Mm.
if you're doing anything else, do you think it's a
Mm.
rewarding experience in terms of investment of your time, energy,
Mm.
effort, everything?
So again, it's a very personal, very individual concept. What
Mm-hmm.
do you treat as, what do you consider as rewarding? So
Mm-hmm.
like for me, I know when you build it from scratch, you're not making that much because you're just starting out, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then you are getting that experience. You are
Mm-hmm.
investing that time in learning new things, in building your integrity, in building your clients. So if you consider that rewarding, definitely it is. So and now if you look at the money side of thing, like okay, so then I would suggest go to corporates because corporates definitely give you more, it will be more paying rather than starting your own practice because then there will not be money right at the onset, like you are earning in millions just right at the onset. So yeah.
Oh, but let's say if I see that teething trouble that you're talking about would be everywhere,
Yes.
right? So if you're
Yes.
starting on your own,
Yes.
because at the end of the day, it will be incorrect to compare a corporate experience with a startup
Mm,
experience in the initial
mm.
journey, right? But
Yes.
what my question was, okay, I think I'll have to rephrase the question. My question
Uh-huh.
is, let's say we have an established firm in the US. Compared to that, if I work in the industry, do you think they're on
Mm,
the same level, or do you think, once I'm not talking about the initial years of
mm.
struggle, I'm talking
Okay.
about a
Okay.
scenario where you're comparing the practice with the industry experience? Because in India, like CA practice is still a very rewarding experience if you have an
Yes.
established practice, right?
Mm.
Do you see the same dynamics working in the US also when it comes to practice?
Yes, absolutely. Like if it's an established practice, then definitely it's more rewarding
Mhm.
rather than working for in a corporate.
Okay. That also gives you
Yes.
flexibility. And now the whole area about you front ending something in the US, having
Yes.
more work and then, subsidizing your costs and dealing with it. That entire new thing has come up now, more so
Yes.
than in the past, isn't it?
Yes, correct.
So I
Yes.
think that might really make a lot of sense. Okay. So
Correct.
you would definitely recommend people who are either Indian CAs or who are looking for establishing their accounting career to consider CPA as one of the rewarding degrees. Yes?
For
No?
sure. Yes,
For
for
sure.
sure.
Okay. That is so good to
Yeah.
know. Any last word for our listeners, Nimisha? Anything else that you would want to talk to everybody? Now we have this podium. Anything that you would
Uh-huh.
want to leave them with? The last thoughts.
Yeah, so like if you are planning to go for it, go for CPA, just go all in. Don't look here and there and don't jump like, okay, I'm doing this, I want to do it, I want to do that. Start small, it's fine. You don't have to start big. And I think be ethical. And yeah, that's the thing which everybody's looking for in the profession.
Mhm.
And be stay curious, because it's ever changing. So
Yeah,
adapt.
that
Yeah.
is really good. And okay, I would want
Yes.
everybody to know that she has been one girl who really thought what he wanted and she went in for it. She never questioned. And I think that is one of the reasons why you've been extremely successful in managing and traveling and having kids. She has 3 kids. She was handling her kids, she was handling her career, she was handling her house compared to situations that we have in India. And I'm pretty sure all of that is not possible if you don't have that clarity in your mind about what you want to do.
Yes.
And
Yes. Stay
I think,
focused.
the biggest plus that I feel is, when you have an aim and when you have a dream and then you work for it, I think it's insufficient, or it's even, it doesn't matter how long does it take. So long as you're on the path and you're working at it,
Mm.
it definitely pushes you upward. I am
For
very,
sure.
very
Yeah.
strong believer of the fact that you have to be on the right path. It will push you up. There's
Yes.
no reason why you
Yes.
would not be pushed up.
Yes. Yes. And
Thank you so
definitely
much.
you being there as a backbone in the initial years. So being that mentor, that definitely
Thank you so
helped
much,
a
Nisha. Thank
lot.
you so much. It was
Yes.
wonderful to have you, even in the live classes.
Same here. Yeah.
And it's been 10 years that I've known you, and it's
Yes.
such a good
Yes.
experience to have even connected together. Thank you so much for doing
Yes.
it.